Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us today for Turn Your Process into a Smartsheet Solution. Our goal today is to help you understand how to create your team's processes in Smartsheet. Before we dive into talking about process, we'll take some time to review the two elements of process, structure and collaboration. You'll be able to understand how sheets, reports, and dashboards work together to create the best work environment for your team. And then we'll also discuss the various ways you can collaborate in Smartsheet, ensuring that everyone is getting the information they need in the right way and at the right time. We'll then bring these together to translate an example process into a Smartsheet solution. Today's webinar is focused on a high-level topic, so we're going to spend time reviewing this Smartsheet toolkit and how different functionality will turn your work into a streamlined process. Along the way, I'll mention past webinars I've hosted that will provide a deeper dive into the areas that interest you. And I'll show you to the Smartsheet Learning Center for step-by-step directions to help you build your sheets, dashboards, and processes. The first step to moving your process into Smartsheet is to make sure that you have a clear plan. Many teams follow processes that have a lot of room for improvement, but of course, everyone's been too busy working to make changes. As your team transitions your process into Smartsheet, now is a great time to make sure everyone is on the same page on what your process is and has had the chance to discuss opportunities and pain points that you can solve for as you're creating this new process in Smartsheet. When you're creating your process map, make sure to include different levels of colleagues, from individual contributors to executive leaders, to understand how everyone will need to interact with the flow of work. This will ensure your plans are complete and everyone is aligned on the same goals. Once you have your process map, it's time to translate this work into Smartsheet. As I mentioned, there are two components to this, structure and collaboration. Structure will dictate how you organize your work, and collaboration will make sure you are giving the right permissions to the right people at the right time, and of course, meeting leadership reporting requirements along the way. We're going to spend some time reviewing these Smartsheet features before we start using them to build a streamlined process in our demo. Smartsheet work exists in three item types: sheets, reports, and dashboards. Sheets are the source of all the work you're going to do in Smartsheet. In other words, if you want to create a report focused on specific data or highlight information in a dashboard, you'll first want to make sure it's being tracked in a sheet. Sheets are very flexible and allow you to customize columns, work across different views, and create indented hierarchy to clearly organize your work. Your sheet is also where you're going to add automation to your process, and we'll take a look at this later in our demo. If you're just getting started with Smartsheet and want to dive deeper into creating and understanding sheet structure, I recommend reviewing our last webinar called Building Better Sheets. This is available in our Learning Center, and I'll point out how to find this once we're in our demo. Reports allow you to create custom focused views of the data that lies in your sheets. Reports really have two functions. They bring together rows from multiple sheets into a single place, and they allow you to apply filters to view the information that's important to you at the time. Reports are commonly created for a focused view. For example, you can create a report to see all of the tasks assigned to you across multiple sheets, a report just to view tasks that are at risk, or really any other criteria. A report of overdue tasks, over budget tasks, milestones, etc. Another great benefit of reports is that you can make changes directly in the report, allowing you to work effectively across multiple sheets in one place without having to navigate from sheet to sheet. Dashboards enable you to create a custom visual of your work in order to report on what matters most. You can choose to include data from sheets or reports, visualize this data with charts and graphs, and also add integrated web content like videos, forms, maps, and more. Dashboards are also a great way to ensure that the right information is available to the right people. You can create different dashboards for different audiences. For example, you might have an actionable dashboard for your team to understand the tasks on their plate and other important items that need to be taken care of, but also a separate high-level dashboard aimed at executives that's going to focus more on data like KPIs and overall high-level metrics. Another benefit of dashboards is that the data you include in your dashboard is visible to users you share your dashboard with, without needing to also share the underlying sheets and reports. When building your solution in Smartsheet, it's important to understand how sheets, reports, and dashboards are all related to each other. As I mentioned a few slides back, sheets are the core of all of your work. You may work in a single sheet day to day, have multiple sheets with completely different functions that you manage your work in, or even have multiple sheets with the same format. For example, if you were running multiple individual projects concurrently. Reports will provide actionable views into these sheets, since you can quickly see a list of tasks based on important criteria. What's due in the next few weeks, what's overdue or over budget, or even what tasks are assigned to you as an individual. Dashboards then allow you to choose exactly the data you want to showcase from any of these sheets and reports without requiring you to share these underlying items. As you plan the structure of your work in Smartsheet, you can manage your processes through intentional collaboration. Most often, you're going to share your sheets, reports, and dashboards directly for users to access, update, and collaborate on anytime. In scenarios where you need to intake information, such as a request management process, Smartsheet forms allow users to contribute to your sheet without needing to access it, adding new rows every time they complete your form. Lastly, Smartsheet automation allows you to stay notified of important activity in your sheets and automate processes like reminders, approval workflows, and requests for information. We'll review all three of these during our demo today, but for a deeper dive and to see a request management process that uses all three of these elements, catch up on my Collaboration Best Practices webinar found in our Learning Center. These three methods of collaboration allow you the flexibility to collaborate effectively and to ensure your team has the information they need when they need it. Combined with the three Smartsheet items we reviewed, sheets, reports, and dashboards, you now have the core Smartsheet toolkit to create your solution. From here, we can map these building blocks to the process you've defined with your internal teams. Our process today will focus on a client implementation workflow. In this process, we have client installation requests kicked off by our sales team. These need to be assigned to a project manager, and each separate implementation has a dedicated task list to manage for the duration of the implementation. We also need to remember to report on sales and status to leadership over the course of all of this work. We can translate this process into Smartsheet with the Smartsheet toolkit we just discussed. We'll start by creating a sheet with a Smartsheet form to intake installation requests from our sales team. This handoff sheet will be used to manage high-level implementation data, including the assignment of a dedicated project manager. Once assigned, each project manager will create an individual sheet for each separate client implementation. This is where their field workers can track status and dates, attach files, and really work in the details. Since we'll be running many client implementation sheets at the same time, we're going to add Smartsheet reports to create cross-sheet views, and then add a dashboard to report on all of this live data to our leadership teams. Now that we've looked at this process, let's head into Smartsheet to see it in action. Our process starts when a sales rep closes a deal and needs to kick off a client implementation. This handoff sheet will use all three methods of collaboration that we've discussed: sharing, forms, and automation. First, we're going to use a Smartsheet form to intake requests from the sales team. Forms can be fully customized, so you can control what questions are being asked, what's required, and how all of this information maps to the columns in your sheet. When submitted, the form adds a brand new row to your sheet without needing to share with the person completing the form. In this scenario, I'm the team manager and monitor incoming requests so I can assign project managers as soon as a client implementation is requested by the sales team. I'll want to share my sheet with project managers so they can access and provide status updates anytime. To do that, I just have to come to the top of the page and click Share, and here's where I can select the appropriate permissions, type in email addresses, and share my sheet. With the form we just submitted, I have a brand new row that's been added to my sheet, and I can refresh to see this new request. As a team manager, I don't want to spend all my time in this sheet refreshing to ensure I know when a new request is submitted. So I'm going to add the third method of collaboration, automation, to my process and allow Smartsheet to take over some of the manual work that I do. First, I'm going to want to be notified anytime a new row is submitted. I've already created an automation rule to send me an update request anytime a new row is submitted, so I can use this update request to assign a new project manager. You can see this in several places. At the top of my sheet here, you'll see I have one workflow already created, and this is going to send an update request to me anytime a new row is added. I can then access this update request in the top right of my sheet in my notification center, or if I'm not at my computer, I can access this through my email, through the Smartsheet mobile app, as well as additional collaboration tools that we integrate with. By using Smartsheet automation, I'm freeing up time that I can spend focusing on other aspects of my job. Now, before I do this, let's actually set up one more step of automation. I don't want to manually notify every project manager when I've assigned new work for them, because remember, I might not even be near my computer. Instead, let's come over to the automation section and create a new workflow. I'm going to title my workflow. Then I'm going to select my trigger, which is the action that has to happen in my sheet to kick off my automation. I'm going to say that anytime that my project manager column changes to any value, and you'll see I can be more specific here if I want, what I would like to happen is the action. I'm just going to send an alert, and instead of sending it to a specific person, like all my update requests were coming to me as the team manager, I'm actually going to send this notification to the project manager column. What that means is it doesn't matter if I'm working with 3 project managers or 30 or 300. Anytime that a new project manager is assigned to a new implementation, Smartsheet's only going to notify the person in the project manager column. This is great because I'm creating one rule applicable for all of my project managers. Now we can go ahead and click Save on our rule, and we'll head back to my notification center, and I can now assign my new project manager. When I do this, they're going to get an alert in your Smartsheet, just like we saw when I received my update request. Here I can assign myself as a project manager just so we can see this additional automation coming through once this change is made. I can add additional automation steps to my process. For example, I can add reminders based on the date columns in my sheet, set up alerts based on status, and requests for approvals or update requests based on any other important sheet activity or timelines that I define. Now to review, for the first part of our process, we've used this handoff sheet to collaborate in 3 different ways. I've shared my sheet directly with project managers who need access anytime to provide status updates and view the work that they have assigned to them. I've created a Smartsheet form to allow the sales team to input information into my sheet without having access to it. And I've also set up Smartsheet automation to make sure that I'm saving myself time. This way I'm automating requests for information, notifications to project managers, and as I mentioned, there's a lot of additional potential under the automation section to make sure that Smartsheet is owning as much of this process for you as possible. To add automation, forms, or sharing to your own process, you can click on any of the linked help content here for a deeper dive. For the next step in our process, the project manager, after receiving their notification, is going to create a dedicated project sheet to manage this new implementation. Let's head over to our Home tab, and we're actually going to use a template to ensure all of our implementations have the same structure. When I start creating a sheet with a template, I get a preview of what that sheet will look like. Select Use Template and just choose where I'm going to save. Here, you're going to see that I already have a folder created to help me organize all of the active implementations. So all of the active work being managed by my project managers. You'll see here that the new sheet I've created looks really different than the handoff sheet, and that's because we're going to manage different types of information. This sheet will be used to manage actionable details like tasks, statuses, assignments, and collaboration with attachments and comments, which you can see on the left side of our page. This is a great place to use Smartsheet as a source of truth for all of the work for this implementation, not only who we're assigning work to, but even related files for each of these tasks. The project manager can share this sheet with their field teams, just like we did with the handoff sheet, allowing them to access and update the sheet anytime, anywhere. This is also a sheet where automation can lead to more efficient collaboration. We can set up reminders to each task owner based on our date columns in our sheet, request status updates on a recurring schedule, and even notify the project manager if any of these tasks slip, become red, or are at risk of missing their deadline. We can define any of this automation under the automation section at the top of the page. And again, we've hosted webinars on this in the past and have great help content to dive deeper into any of these topics that you want to add to your own process. Now, I've mentioned past webinars as well as Help Center content a few times, so let's take a moment here and we can come up to the question mark at the top of our page and select Help and Learning. This will take you to our Learning Center where you can search for any topics that we talked about today that you're looking for step-by-step instructions on, start a learning track that will take you through topics one by one, or head to the best practice webinars section. And this is where you're going to find some of those past webinars I've mentioned. As you'll see here, building better sheets, collaboration best practices, and more. Now, as we talked about, we're going to be managing many implementations concurrently. So we're going to have many project managers working across multiple sheets. And to work more efficiently, I can create Smartsheet reports for these actionable views. Let's head over to the Home tab and we'll take a look at some reports that we already have created. To review, reports allow us to bring together rows from many sheets into a single view and only show rows that meet specific criteria. So for example, if I'm a field worker and I'm assigned to multiple implementations, I can create a report that's a user task list report to show all my responsibilities across all the implementation sheets in a single report. In this report, you'll see all of the rows are tasks that are assigned to me, and our sheet name column tells us which sheet or which implementation each of these rows is from. Reports are a really powerful way to work across all of these sheets in a single view, as any changes I make in this report will actually update any of these underlying sheets without me having to navigate from sheet to sheet to make these changes. This report is really helpful for me as an individual, but my team can also create reports to see all tasks we need to accomplish in the coming week, tasks that are overdue or over budget, etc. Now, as our team continues our work on various projects, the best way to understand and surface overall status data is going to be with a Smartsheet dashboard. Dashboards are really powerful because of how customizable they are. I can include high-level data from my handoff sheet, which we can see here under the project intake status section. I can add key data from my individual implementation sheets, and I can also add reports directly into my dashboards as well. In addition to the data feeding from my sheets and my reports, you'll see visualization is available through charts and graphs, photos, logos, and of course, additional formatting options. Since dashboards are customizable, I can create a single view for everyone, as you see here, to understand how our overall program is running. Or a personal best practice that I have is to create different dashboards for different audiences. For example, for my project managers and for their teams, I might have a dashboard that focuses on actionable information. So what needs to be taken care of right now as they are doing their work day to day. I'll also have a separate dashboard for my executive team that's going to be focused on higher level data. For example, how we're tracking 2 KPIs. This way, I've got the same core set of data, but my dashboards are communicating that information in different ways to different audiences. And of course, all of this is customizable and live data. So you don't have to go digging across sheets and creating these reports every time you have a status meeting. This information is available anytime to anyone you share your dashboard with. Now we've covered the various components of the Smartsheet toolkit we started by creating this process. We've collaborated through direct sharing, forms, and automation, and we've structured our work across multiple sheets, reports, and dashboard. The solution that we worked in today is available for download in our Solution Center, found by clicking the plus button on the left side of your page. Here you can browse through all of the templates available or come into the search section, and what you'll want to search for is client implementation to find the template set we used for our work today. You'll see you can also browse by industry or role, so finding a template that's going to get you started with Smartsheet structure is a great way to hit the ground running instead of creating your work from scratch. Now that we've looked at how the process we mapped translates into a Smartsheet solution using the Smartsheet toolkit we reviewed at the start of this session, let's head back to our slides, review the steps we took, as well as the additional resources available for you here at Smartsheet. To review the work that we've done today, we created a process map to understand how my team works, and then mapped our requirements to Smartsheet functionality using the Smartsheet toolkit items that we started with. For our process, we're going to use a Smartsheet form to intake installation requests. That form is going to feed into our handoff sheet, and we're going to use Smartsheet automation to request an update for a project manager for every new installation, and to notify the project manager when they've been assigned a new task. That project manager will then use the template we created to create a separate sheet for each implementation that they will share with their team and manage statuses, dates, attachments, and comments in. We'll then use Smartsheet reports to work across sheets and create focused views. And finally, we're going to use Smartsheet dashboards to bring together all of the important information, allowing our team to have a place to view high-level status and even additional dashboards to report to leadership on KPIs and other important data that they're going to need to make their decisions faster. For your next steps, you can visit our Solution Center to download this client implementation template. And if you'd like to dive deeper into any of the topics we covered today, visit smartsheet.com/webinars. The last webinar we held was called Sheet Best Practices and covered how to best structure and work in a Smartsheet. And I've also hosted webinars on collaboration best practices, which will go into forms, sharing, and automation, as well as a webinar focused fully on project management. There's a lot of different resources for you in our Learning Center, as well at smartsheet.com/learning. Here you can go through learning tracks that'll take you through topics one at a time, or search for topics. I know we covered a lot today, so this will be a great place to get a refresher on anything that I might have shown that you want some details or additional information on. In addition to the resources available for you online, we do have additional training available by our training team, and our user conference is coming up September 30th through October 3rd. For more information on that, visit smartsheet.com/engage. We've come to the end of our time today, and thanks everyone for joining me, and I hope to see you next time.